You are welcome, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Abdul Samad. Now, good evening, everyone. You are welcome to the introduction to programming section of the program. And first and foremost, I would apologize for starting the program late. It is due to some unforeseen circumstances, and I hope you would accept my apology regarding that. Then, as a means of introduction, my name is Farouk Olariwaju, and because of the time we have, I would go as elaborate as possible in our discussion in the introduction to programming aspect, and as well, I would try as much as possible not to spend too much time on some information. So, inshallah, I would start the program now. And just as a means of introduction, just a very brief introduction, I have a reason for stating some of the points I have here in the introduction. The first is that I am a mechanical engineering student, or I was a mechanical engineering student that graduated from the University of Ilorin. And the reason why I stated this is that for us to know that you don't necessarily have to be either from computer science or mathematics or statistics before you can actually engage in programming. Even quite all right, some people believe that for you to engage in programming, you have to be in computer engineering. So it doesn't matter where you are coming from. Either you are from medicine, you are from law, you are from arts, you can actually engage in programming, because most of what you would need in a programming journey might not necessarily have to do with what you are learning in your undergraduate or any place you are coming from. That was first. Now, personally, I'm a freelancer and I consult for Python programming and MATLAB programming majorly. And I was once the lead tutor in the data science and AI section of an online tech school, which is Lead Vision Academy, where I taught students on machine learning basics, and I took them some projects and examinations with certifications, and as well as in artificial intelligence as well. So aside this, I've also designed and engaged in numerous projects across different programming languages. I did some projects in Odoo programming, where we actually base most of our programmings on Python. And I've also worked on a number of web design projects as well with Python programming, JavaScript, PHP, and several other programming languages. Now, I think I might not necessarily have to go deep into introducing myself beyond that, because other details I might be giving might not really be very, what was it called? I think this is sufficient. Yes. Okay. First and foremost, I would like to give a very short introduction to what we refer to as programming. You see, when we say programming, the main thing we are talking about are some set of rules and guidelines we use in some set of rules that actually informs a computer what to do. You want to tell computer what to do, then what you do actually is what you program the computer. So there are different types of programming that exist. In fact, at times we discuss about the different how programming came up. Usually, programming are of different levels. You find out that when you set a program, for example, you move your mouse. When you move your mouse, something shows on your screen. Like you see that something is happening on your screen. So several things are happening behind. So the interaction between your code directly with the machine, the language you write there is referred to as a machine language. That is what exactly what was it called? That is what exactly gives your hardware, the physical devices you can see, that is what gives them the instruction on what to do. Say, for example, you are on your system and you ask your printer to print, then the printer prints out paper. What happens? The main thing communicating with the printer for it to get you that outcome you have, the output you have is what we refer to as machine language. But here, we are not discussing machine language. No, that is for computer engineers. I mean, those who are actually interested in building hardwares. And there are some programming languages that we might actually discuss later that are high level, but at least they can actually communicate much with hardwares. Like they are used much more in hardware designs, which we will come to later when we are going deeper into explaining what programming languages are. So for majorly, we won't be discussing about such kind of programming languages here, but programming language, there is one aspect like that, so we should know that. Then there's also a programming language that is very, very close to machine language, but it does not communicate directly with the machines, but rather it helps to convert your codes, the codes that you wrote, to a level that can be used at least to a level very close to machine language. Let me just put it that way. So to a level very close to machine language. These languages are called assembly languages, and they actually work on the machine language. Then the last one that we will be discussing majorly on today are high-level languages. These are languages that are independent of the machines. You write them such that even you yourself can actually read and understand what is being written. If you look at the right-hand side, I cropped a video. What's it called? I cropped an image from an Indian class. So the last box you can see there is typical of what you would find in machine languages. Most times, even you cannot comprehend it. You can't comprehend it. Then there's some there's some languages that are actually in between. I mean, assembly languages and machine language. Assembly language and machine language are very close. Then there's one we call low-level languages. Those one are examples. There are numerous examples there, but them not go there. So the high-level languages are like the one that you have above. You can see class, triangle. There are things you understand. Float, surface, return. There are things you understand. BH, that's base and height. If you want, you can actually write it as base times height over 2. You understand? And even looking at this, someone who understands mathematics will see that, perhaps they're trying to calculate area of triangle here. I mean, what do they mean by B times H over 2? You can easily relate. Unlike, look at the bottom, 0001000. No, that is machine language. You're not interested. All right. So I will now be we'll be looking much more into high-level languages. But before we look into high-level languages, let me ask, can you mention a number of high-level programming languages you can think of, at least with the description we have given, to be able to mention that, I think I know social programming language that's actually like this. Can you mention any? Quick. Hello? Are we together? Oh, you can't see my screen?
They are not seeing the screen.
Wow.
If you want to speak, kindly raise your hand.
What did you say?
I said I'm talking to the audience.
Not screen.
Wow. Okay. That's very serious.
It's like the screen is small. And with that, we are using the system here. It's very tiny.
Wow, this is very serious. Actually have my screen here, very clear to me.
Brother Farouk.
Try
putting your phone on I think a landscape mode. Like try to slant it.
Okay. Can some of you see the screen? But just that it's not clear.
It's better like this.
Subhanallah.
You can make it full screen.
Is it clear this way?
Yeah, it's very clear.
Can you see this way? Can you see it clearly this way?
Yes, sir.
I can see it clearly.
What do you say?
I can see it.
Yes, I can see the screen.
Please, the moment it is no more visible. Please do inform me. Is the screen is it still visible now?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. On my own end, it's just loading. Okay. I actually stopped on the slide number 4, where I'm asking that can we see the slide number 4 now?
Yes, you can.
You
Okay,
can.
like you mention any high level programming language, you know. Okay, sorry, let me just quickly go over again. Okay, I think major things I discussed are actually on slide number 3 here. So I mentioned that programming actually involve providing a number of rules that gives the computer that makes the computer know the operations to what to carry, or orders the computer to carry out some operations by passing him some rules. And I mentioned that there are different type of programming languages. There's one that communicate directly with the hardware, and that is what machine language. There's one that it is very, very close to the machine language, but it's not the machine language, and that is what assembly language. Then there's one that it is machine independent. You write it as though you write your normal daily English language. Although they have this high level language also have different classifications, but generally, they are machine independent. That's why they are called high level languages. And usually they are written in our day-to-day languages. Like you can see, there's a diagram by the right hand side where we have some zeros and ones. So these zeros and ones, they are what? They are machine language. The middle one is like an assembly language, and the upper one that has class, triangle, float, surface, return, b times h over 2. This looks very, very much like our day-to-day English, and this is what high level language. And I said, we are all, I believe we should all have some basics, at least some very, very few basics, if not a high level of what's called understanding of programming. So with the basic understanding we might have, can you mention a number of programming language, any programming language you can share with us? Hello?
Yes, I can mention some.
Okay, you can just mention your name and mention the programming languages.
Okay, my name is Ismail Adeshola Bundele. The high level language that I know is like Python, Java, JavaScript, PHP, and the likes.
Okay, I think just one or two is enough, so that others can also share that as well. Thank you very much. Python, I can hear Python and Java. Yes. Okay, someone else?
Hello, my name is Kelechi.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, we have HTML and CSS.
Okay, actually, HTML and CSS are not programming languages. Yes. So they actually have programming languages. We have markup languages like LaTeX. That's an XML. That's the aspect HTML also falls into. All right. So
okay, what about PHP?
What about what? PHP. PHP is a programming language. Yeah, correct.
Okay, and Ruby.
And Ruby too. Ruby is actually a framework. It's actually a framework. But we'll get there.
Okay.
All right.
Good evening.
All right. Someone else?
Lukman.
Okay. Welcome, sir.
Kotlin.
Okay.
Kotlin.
Okay. That's majorly written based like on, I think, on Python, if I'm not mistaken. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing your ideas. So majorly, I see that most of us actually we are kind of we know a number of programming languages already. We've gotten mentions of Python. We got mention of Java. We got mention of PHP, and somebody also mentioned Ruby and Kotlin. Okay, we will move ahead from here, and I will show you some of the programming languages that are available, like that high level language language that we have. All right. Sorry. Can you see the fifth screen? Are you there?
Yes.
Yes, you can see.
Yeah. We can see.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, thank you. So the high-level languages we have, some of them are mentioned here. We have Python, we have C, and C also has different types. We have the Objective C, we have C++, we have C Sharp, then we have Java and JavaScript. They are not the same. We have Java, we have JavaScript. Then there are some that we are not really familiar with. Some of them are like Perl, Go, Julia, R. People who are very familiar with machine learning and although some specific usages, some few companies though, they use Go, Julia, and R, and we also have MATLAB and PHP. Now you see, all of these programming languages we have here, you don't necessarily have to know most of them, because depending on the career path you choose or you want to explore, that is what will define the kind of programming language you opt for. You don't just say, I want to learn programming language, then you ask, which programming language can I learn? Then you are told, okay, you can learn C, then you start learning C. No. Or, okay, I learned MATLAB is very, very interesting. So, and it's good that as an engineering student, you should know MATLAB, then you start learning MATLAB. No. Or, you are taught in school, you are taught C in school, and because you are taught C in school, you want to learn C. Although it's good to have this knowledge, but the best way for you to pick a programming language you want to learn is by choosing a career path, which I will still explain further later, and you learning the programming language based on that path. That is why you found out that all over the world, some programming languages are more learned than others, because there are some programming languages that they have high restrictions, that they are used for some particular specific usages. Say, for example, JavaScript. JavaScript is used majorly in things that has to do with web. Majorly web, either the web applications, websites. I mean web design. There's a difference between web design and web application. I hope people here know the differences. So we have website designs, we have web applications, and we have web servers. So majorly JavaScript is used in this realm. In some very, very few instances, they also use in machine learning. Very, very few instances. Usually, whenever you want to convert a machine learning code to something that can be deployed on websites, so we employ JavaScript there as well. So some are very, very open, like Python, for example. You can use it for many things, ranging from game design to website design to artificial intelligence to software development and several other things you can use Python for. In fact, at times when you are doing your you are developing some CAD designs on your, perhaps maybe for engineering students here, on your Inventor, you can actually make use of Python to have some effects on your CAD design. Yes, or maybe you are doing a parametric design and you are using Maya. So Python is very, very extensive, that it can be used for several things. So some programming languages are like that they are that broad. We'll still go into some programming languages very soon. But I'm telling you this to know the reason why some programming language might be used more than others. Aside that, some programming languages as well, they are more learned because they are more required in the industry. They are more required in the industry. So, say for example, these days we are having a very high surge of interest in the application of artificial intelligence to many fields. Say for example, in your website on Facebook, by the time you upload a picture, you suggest to it that so person is in the picture. What is happening there is what? Artificial intelligence, facial recognition. So, because of the high surge of interest because of the high interest in artificial intelligence, more people tend to learn the programming language that is being used in this field. So I would explain this further later. So based on from Statista, they gave a brief summary of the top the most popular programming languages. You see, on the top of the list we have Python, and we have more than 1/4 of those who are learning programming are actually learning Python. Number one, Python is the easiest to learn. Number two, Python has several applications, like I mentioned earlier. In fact, of all the softwares I know Python is the one that has the broadest reach. I mean, although different fields has maybe like a programming language that is more specific to that field. Say for example, like mobile development, for example, majorly we use Java. Majorly mobile app development, Java is the strongest in that field. Then when you're talking about embedded system, C is the strongest. When you're talking about website web design, you're talking about communication web design. Although there was a time when we have PHP to be very strong, but these days we have JavaScript and its framework being more used in website design. So for that reason, but upon all of this, you can still use Python in almost all of these cases I've mentioned. You can still use Python in all of these cases I mentioned. Web design, like web development, like I mentioned JavaScript. Now you can use C. In hardware, connection with hardware, where I mentioned C, you can still use. You can use Python as well as JavaScript for web development. Similarly, I'm not conversing for C. I'm only explaining why many people are actually learning C. Any language you want to select, you select it based on the field you want to go to, and don't just learn programming language because people are learning programming language. You understand? And don't just go and jump into Python because you can use it for many fields. Then you'll be lost. By the time you learn Python, you just keep on learning Python for many months. You can't apply because you are not using it for a particular field. Then when you want to start learning in that field, say for example, you want to start learning in embedded system, and you find that most of the codes and the trainings you can find online, they are on C, then you are stuck. You learn Python. You have to go back and go and learn C. So that is why it is usually advisable to learn the programming language and follow the steps, the career path of those who have actually succeeded in that field. So, but generally, we have Python first, that on the list of the most popular programming language. Then we have Java. Then we have JavaScript. Then we have C#. Then we have PHP. Then we have C. We have R programming language and several others like that. And I've explained the reason why some of these are like this, like why Python is ahead. Then why we have Java. Then why we have them in that order. All right. Now, I've given us some inkling about how we should choose the programming language you want to learn. I believe some of us might be learning a programming language already. Maybe somebody might actually be interested in learning Python programming, and you're already learning Python for like, let's say, a week or two, or some people even months, some people just only a few weeks, but some people months they've been learning programming language. I can remember I learned Python for about what was it called? About some very few weeks, anyways, about 8 weeks or so, when I first started learning Python during my IT, when I was in what's it called, in 400 level in my undergraduate. But while I was learning Python, then I was just learning and learning. I want to know Python. But later I find that I need actually to learn Python for a particular application. I started learning for artificial intelligence and data science. So usually it is best that you pick a programming language, but even though you actually learn it already, pick it for a particular application so that you have a clear path on where you are going. Okay, while you are learning, there are some problems that you generally encounter, which will be very, very important for you to take note of. We have discussed this at length yesterday during our tutorial purgatory class. So inshallah today we might not go too deep into this so that we can cover other aspects. All right, repetitive video watching, that is exactly what we call learning purgatory. So you keep on watching a particular video, like you keep on watching seasons video. Today you watch about 4 hours, then tomorrow you watch about another 2 hour video. Next tomorrow you watch about, let's say, 3 hours, and you think, wow, I'm learning Python already. I've watched about 5 videos. I've finished 7 courses. Yet you cannot write a complete Python programming code for a project. So that usually occur when you keep on learning, when you keep on watching videos and you're not in fact learning from it. Now I must mention this. Another thing that falls into this category is you are actually learning. I mean, you are learning, you're watching the videos, you are practicing, you are in fact learning. But after taking one course, maybe in Python programming, you took Introduction to Python programming, then you have learned all the basics. But you see another course that this course actually has much more details than the first course you took. But they are both introduction, but you feel like this one has more details. Then you go and start watching this one ahead again. You learn almost the same thing with some few additions. Okay. After taking that again, you go and watch another one again. Maybe the first one is in Coursera, second one is in LinkedIn, third one is someone interesting YouTube video. You watch that one too. you are just rolling around a single point. Once you've actually learned and understood the basics, move on to the next stage, and don't spend too much time there. All right, because you just keep on learning the same thing, and those things you are learning in maybe you saw 1 or 2 new things in those other videos. Those are the things you would eventually learn when you move on to the next stage. Just that you are even learning them now without even knowing the applications and how important those new things you are learning are. Another thing is that people dream without even having targets and action. Say, for example, you want to become an expert in Python programming. I'm sorry, can't just be an expert without having a particular target. Okay, Python programming for what? I mentioned earlier, you can use Python for web development. You can use Python for artificial intelligence. You can use Python for machine learning and data analytics, data visualization, several other things. Where exactly are you using Python for? Define it clearly. If you want to be an expert in Python programming, will you be expert in all of these things I've mentioned? No, because they have different libraries and different frameworks that you use in different places. For example, in AI, TensorFlow alone, you will stress your. Don't let me scare you. TensorFlow alone can actually take you a lot of time to comprehend what is happening there. Okay, you learn Python for artificial intelligence, you learn TensorFlow, you learn sklearn, you learn plotting and like expanders and others. Then after learning those ones, you might not even have a clear path on which one to learn before which. Then you also want to learn Python for web design. You want to go and learn Django. After learning that, you also want to learn different things at the same time. No, have a clear path to know where exactly you want to go. Another thing you observe again is that usually whenever you're learning through a path, you may have to learn more than one programming language, but at least one is going to be the foundation. All right. Now, the third thing is that the third problems that we usually have is when we learn without mentoring. Whenever you want to learn a programming language, learn with the mentor, because the mentor has gone through the stages. He has seen the problems you would have. So usually will guide you that do this and don't do that. Do that and don't do this, so that you don't fall into the problems he fell into. See, for example, like I mentioned, I have a number of friends that they are interested in learning what's called data analysis with Python. It's a very, very interesting one that all over the world these days, that's what most companies, particularly retailing companies, are doing, data analysis with Python. I mean, the likes of Netflix, Amazon and likes, they do this a lot. Even in Nigeria here, a number of companies like KPMG, they do that a lot as well. And some of them still use Excel anyways. So these my friends, without mentors, they can I remember in 2020, while even till now they are still learning till now. Like, you don't even know, they can't even do some basic things with Python on data analysis now. Then they will join a class. They will go through the class. After going through that class, they will see a new course. They will go and they will tap from it as well. They will jump from here to there, to there, to there, and they won't understand what they are learning. In fact, simple assignments, they and a newbie, they will be struggling together, even though they have been learning that for several months. So learn with a mentor who can guide you and tell you what to do at what stage. Aside that, memorization and aiming at perfection is another major problem that we have. Whenever you are learning programming, don't aim at memorizing every single thing that you are learning. Understand? Because a time will come when you actually have to know more than one programming language. Memorizing one, you have to memorize another one again. But just understanding the syntax, understanding how the programming languages go, is to make you be very dynamic and be able to solve problems as they come. All right. Aside that, improper approach to learning. I mentioned that yesterday, that whenever we are learning, we should learn through the project-based method. That actually aids you, and then you tend to learn faster. All right. Then following others and merry-go-rounding is another problem, because you see your friend doing this, you want to do too. No, focus on your own path and go through your path. Don't say because my friend is learning Julia, I think that my friend knows Python, he knows C, he knows MATLAB. Me, I'm only learning Python. Should I go and learn C too? No, you don't need to do that. You don't have to be following your friends everywhere. Focus on your own path and go through that. You find out that if your friend is actually serious and he knows what he's doing, so you might have a reason for learning those languages at different times, but you don't have any reason. The only reason you have is that your friend is learning this and you're learning it. No, that's wrong. Focus on your path. What exactly do you need next? Your mentor can guide you and say, do this next. All right. So now I would like to go through each of the programming languages now and tell us what each of these programming languages are majorly used for, Then, if you already have, if you are learning before, then you can know that are you really going through what you are interested in, or you have to switch the language you are learning. If you have not started learning yet, you can know which programming should you, based on what interests you now, go for. You can know which programming should you, based on what you are interested in now, go for. All right. Now, the first programming language I'm going to be talking about is Python, and I'm going to be mentioning some few things alongside while I'm trying to buttress on these programming languages. First, on Python programming language, you have many applications beyond what I have here, but I'm only going to explain these few applications. The first is in artificial intelligence. Now, let me say this: for you to become an AI specialist or an AI expert, I don't think it will take you up to 2 months. I don't think it will take you up to 2 months or 3 months. I have a friend that has actually learned Python and is now using AI extensively. I don't think he has started learning more than 3 months. And now I'm going to be doubting even if I understand Python with AI more than it does. Because learning Python is just for a short period of time. You learn Python, then after learning Python, you start taking some steps into AI by learning some few other libraries like NumPy first, then you learn SciPy a little bit, very little, then you learn Pandas and sklearn. With sklearn, you will learn a number of machine learning libraries, which you don't actually have to start racking your head from basis. Most of the ways we use those libraries are already clear in their documentation. Then you go to AI, you might actually have to learn, depending on the framework you want to use. You might want to use Keras, you might want to use TensorFlow, you might also use PyTorch. So any of these, you can actually use them for your AI. So that's for AI. AI usually has about, I think AI majorly has three areas that we handle majorly in AI. The first area is what has to do with image and video processing. So that is one aspect of AI where we talk about object recognition, facial recognition, and the likes. Then we also have aspect that has to do with series. For example, a voice recording, for example, that's a series. It starts from a particular time and ends at a particular time. Say, for example. And at times, what's it called? You might actually even embed. Okay, that is an example. Another example is like a text. Say, for example, a text starts from a particular point and you move forward to the end of the text. Am I correct? So that's another series. So you have series like that. We also have other ones that we refer to as prediction. Are we together? Yeah, I think.
Please, can you? Hello.
Yes, I'm with you.
Together.
Can you just make this component, the components that we talked about?
I can't hear you clearly.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm saying you were mentioning the image and video processing. Then the second line, I didn't get it.
Okay, the second aspect is series, analysis of series. Like usually they call them like time series, for example. They call them time series. Usually, if you look at the voice recording, a voice recording starts at a particular time and it goes forward to the end, right? So such series are also the second aspect of AI that we work on usually. So another example of that is text analysis. Say, for example, you start from the beginning of the text and analyze the text to the end. So that's another example. That is time series. Usually we make use of what's it called? Recurrent neural network in analyzing those. And we have other networks like TCN and LSTM and several other networks. And several other networks we use in analyzing such. Then the third aspect we have is they are called deep layers. Anyways, they are called deep layers. That's the aspect of deep learning that might eventually evolve to reinforcement learning and the likes. If you want to know more about this, you can actually ask during the questioning session so that I don't take too much time, because we have other aspects we have to explain as well. So that's basically about artificial intelligence, AI. Now, in data analytics and visualization, here, this aspect is used majorly in business, majorly in business, whereby you take data from maybe for a retail store and you want to know who are those that like which particular product do people ask for the most. Okay, how long does it take for a product to get finished? Okay, how much do we accrue as profits from selling different kinds of products? So we will know which product is giving us most amount of profits. Okay, even though this product is giving us a high percentage of profit, do we have more customers requesting? These are what we are playing with data. We play with data to get this information. So one of the major places where we use these kind of things is in what? Is in retailing. And we also have several other applications, even in our companies. Maybe we want to analyze some things that happen in our companies and want to visualize them, because people tend to understand things better when they see them in visual form, in the visual story. Say for example, I showed a picture earlier. Look at this picture. In this picture, I can start telling you stories. I might tell you that Python is the most learned language because of this, because of that. And the next is so. You looking at this picture while I'm explaining gives you a better picture of the order of the words of the programming languages. And you can easily comprehend what I'm trying to say. Do you understand? Than me just listing this way and telling you Python, I mentioned to you the next is Java, then the next is JavaScript. It can't be like you looking at this picture. Am I correct? So this is the power of what? Of visualization. Hope you are together.
Yes.
All right.
I cannot see this. I cannot see any video, like nothing is coming up.
Oh, can others see the screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Miriam, you may submit your Telegram.
Probably it's the Needy's network.
Or maybe the update. She hasn't updated that.
And hope the screen is clear.
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, all right. So thank you. So after data analytics and data visualization, for those of you that actually want to learn data analytics and data visualization, you actually have a slightly different path from somebody who wants to learn AI. Although to some extent you might also learn machine learning for some few applications. So if you actually have interest in this path and you want to get advice, you could actually communicate during the Q&A section of the program. Yes. All right. So after data analytics and visualization, we also have web development. Although web development actually it's flourishing more in areas that doesn't have to do with Python. I mean, we use majorly JavaScript for web development. But these days, because of the advent of AI, and we have a lot of libraries in Python programming, people tend to also learn Python programming. Then they learn Django so that they can easily interface their Python program with web development. So some people tend to learn Django web development, while some people still use Laravel and PHP. Some people still use Node.js and the likes. Yes.
Hello.
You have a question?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Please, I can't see the video. I can't see the video.
Okay. Can others see the video?
No.
You can see what I'm currently on Python.
Okay, I can see something now. But after this, I can't see anything again.
I don't see anything now.
It's showing now. It's showing.
Yeah, it's showing Python. I can see Python.
No, it's showing C programming.
Are we sure?
Yeah, Python now.
Python now.
Yeah, Python.
Maybe it's your network actually. I've been on Python since. I only checked to see, then I returned to Python immediately.
Yes,
so it's on Python now.
It's on Python now. Okay, thank you. In web development, majorly, you can explore web development with Python by learning Django. All right. Then we also have game development. Okay. We also have game development and financial engineering. I'm fortunate to have worked a bit on financial engineering with Python programming. and it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. Although you have to interface Python programming with a number of other programming languages. At some point in time, you also have to use what's it called, Linux OS to work on the financial engineering aspect. All right. So I'm just preparing your mind. At times, based on the field you want to engage in, you might have to learn more than what I'm discussing here. For example, if you're going to be learning web development, you still have to understand HTML and CSS together with what? With Python. All right. So similarly, if you are learning, if you are making use of financial engineering, you have to know XML if you want to be designing the software yourself. All right. But if you just want to be using the software, then you don't even have to code anything. All right. So that's that about Python programming. Now, we also have what we refer to as C programming. In C programming, this is used majorly by engineers and software architects. For example, most some few OS are designed by using C programming, and most embedded systems they work on C programming. Most, for example, like your robot car, for example, or you want to most embedded systems you can see they work on C programming. Like Arduino majorly is on C programming, although we have a number of them that are not on C programming, like your Raspberry Pi that is on Python programming. So, but most embedded systems that you see that have been designed, they have been designed on C programming. All right. And C programming has a number of offshoots. We have Objective-C, that's the foundational one. Then one of the foundational ones, not even the basic one. Then we also have C#. We also have C++. All right. So yes, C# actually is one of the most actively used programming languages in game development. For example, if you are someone that want to learn game development fully, want to engage a lot in game development, then I would advise you learn C#. And you can actually learn some other things along with C#, such as you learn how to use Unity and maybe Cinema 4D for your physical outlook, or you can also learn Autodesk Maya for your environmental design actually. Then even if you cannot do all of these designs, you can actually even download them online. They have Unity store where you can download most of those things. Then you import them to Unity. Then you have to learn how to do C# programming to be able to communicate with your characters, and you can design your game. All right. So game development actually majorly we use C#. I think C# is one of the most used programming language in game development. So software development as well, we use C#. We use it. I think if you are developing software using .NET, if I'm not mistaken, it makes use of C#. I'm not so sure of that, but it's used also a lot in what's it called in software development. So likewise, C++. C++ is widely used as well, just like I mentioned before, for embedded systems in engineering applications. It's used in development of databases and as well as software development. So if you want to explore any of these, you should ask questions, get a mentor, and choose a particular field you want to get into. Depending on what interests you. Maybe you have been going through your phone and you've seen a lot of games, and you feel like these games, how do they program them? You want to learn programming to be able to program games. Then you start learning Python. Orongo. Wrong. So you should know who you should ask and where you should start from. I hope it's clear.
Yes, it is clear. You understand?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right. So now JavaScript. Now let me talk a bit about JavaScript as well. JavaScript actually, like I mentioned before, it has most of its applications in things that deals with what? Web design. Sorry, let me call it web development, because technically, for those who are actually experts in web development, I'm not an expert in web development, but I got to engage in it for a couple of weeks or so. So there's a difference between web design and web application. What you are looking at, I mean, how beautiful it is and the likes, how it is arranged, how everything looks, that makes a lot of sense to you. That's the design. There we talk about majorly about HTML, CSS, and some applications with JavaScript. But what happens behind? like for example, now if you look at the website of, let's say, Punch newspaper, just go there and drop some information for you to go and read. Usually, most of those are just normal web designs. But if you look at Facebook, we all have the same homepage. Like once you log in, we have the same page. What we see are different. Am I correct? What I see on my own page and what you will see on page are different. In such instances, what we call that is a web application. That is a web application. So if I log into my own LinkedIn account and you log into your own LinkedIn account, we would have our own personalized pages. I can log out. My own login out does not affect what you are doing. If you send me a message, I would receive, and I can also reply. These are web applications. So usually in developing these things, we make use of what? Make use of JavaScript majorly. Although there are some frameworks that makes it quite easier for you to develop most of these things. Like we have jQuery, and jQuery actually I don't think is majorly okay. It communicates also with the database as well. Actually, that's jQuery. So we also have the Node.js, we have the Express.js, like I mentioned here, and React, like we have there, actually is majorly used for designing how your your physical your outlook looks like, and your interactivity with the users. Okay, we also have web servers. JavaScript also communicates with web servers, and like I mentioned, it has a number of offshoots. So if you want to learn JavaScript, you need guide to know what to learn based on what interests you. Do you just want to design how it looks? You want to design what you design looks like? The physical appearance of the website, or you want to design what is happening behind all of these things? Like, for example, I send a message to you. You see the message. How did the message I sent to you gets to like how does the message I sent to you gets to you? How? Then the person who is in charge of that will actually have to go more into web application. So you can see that programming is actually beyond you just learning programming. You have to know what you are learning and what is your target. Somebody who is learning one programming language for a particular thing might not know, or most likely will not know those things you know for that field you are taking, if you are taking different fields. Although it's possible you actually both understand the same basic principles, but that person that knows how to use use programming for AI, tell him to come and do programming for website interactivity. You just be looking, you can't do anything, even though they both understand programming very well. So you have to know which field you want to go to and focus. All right. Now, okay, I've given a general introduction to those few programming languages. Because of time, I would have to, because we have to go for Salah soon, inshallah, for prayer soon, inshallah. And you have another session after the prayer. So let me just give you a short advice on how you can plan yourself. Okay.
The session is after is about 9 or 8:30. So okay. I don't know. It's not after the 7 o'clock.
Let me just round up. So if you have questions, you can ask questions, because I believe with what I've explained, actually, you should be able to give much questions, and then we discuss better.
Yes, the questions will be on. Is it on this platform or the WhatsApp platform?
Any platform is okay.
I think the WhatsApp is okay, because we can't continue with this audio since many of us might go to pray.
Okay, all right.
So now the question will be on WhatsApp.
Okay, let me just give a short, a brief, what's it called, advice on how you can plan yourself for any field you want to go to. We've mentioned several fields so far in our discussion. I've explained field that has to do with game development. I've mentioned about somebody wants to design a robotic car, a robot car, for example, make use of programming. Somebody who wants to engage in web development, mix of programming. If you want to engage in software development generally, programming also is what you use when you want to engage in AI. So how do you plan yourself? Basically, how do you plan yourself? Hope you can see my screen.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry for that. I'm actually having a call coming in right now. So the call is actually going to be affecting how you are hearing me, how you can hear me rather. All right. So can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the first thing you do is that you choose a field. See what I said there. I said choose a field, not a language. The first thing you do is that you choose a field, not a language. Don't say, I want to learn Python. No. Don't say, I want to learn JavaScript. No. What particularly do you want to do? Do you want to learn artificial intelligence? Do you want to learn data analytics? Do you want to learn web development? Do you want to learn do you want to learn web development? Do you want to learn robotics? What do you want to learn? The field you want to engage in would actually help you to progress therefrom, to know what you want to do. So after choosing a field, then you can now research about what? About the career opportunities in that field and know where exactly are you interested in the field, and to know how, just on a general note, how you can actually get to the top of your career in that field. I can give a good example of data analytics. For example, if I'm asked that, okay, just give me a brief help on opportunities I have in data analytics and how I can actually get to the top of the career. We just give like very, very short, maybe one or two opportunities, and just give some few things you should just be able to learn in a short time. Okay. The first is, okay, if you want to learn data analytics, where can you apply it? Like I mentioned earlier, you can apply it in what? In retailing, for example. That's one. Aside in retailing, you can also apply it as as a human resource or a lead as a human resource or a lead generator in a company, for example. As an HR or a lead generator in a company, for example, you can use data analytics. So these are some of the two career opportunities you have. So now, what are the things you have to learn to be able to achieve that? I will tell you that some things you have to learn includes, okay, learn Python. After learning Python, learn the libraries that you need for data analytics, like NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn, then sklearn. I've mentioned about 5. I can tell you can learn NumPy in a week. You can learn Pandas in like 2-3 weeks because it's a bit broad. Then you can learn both Matplotlib and Seaborn in a week. They are not difficult, very, very simple to use. Then sklearn, you can learn that for a very long time, although 3 weeks or 4 weeks will be sufficient. Okay, you see, I've given you some clear, I can even tell you what each of these are used for, so that you know that, okay, these are the things I will learn along the way as I progress. All right, so choose the field you want to go into, not a language. All right, then research about the career opportunities there and the things you need to learn along the line, so you get prepared. At times, you might have to learn more than one programming language. At times, just one programming language. All right. So now, I said, after getting a field, not the language though, then learn the basic or the most fundamental programming language for that field. You can learn that in a month. I'm giving this a month for somebody who has not learned programming language at all before. You can learn the programming language in that field in at least a month. Say, for example, you want to learn JavaScript. You can learn the basics of JavaScript and be able to apply it, although you have to learn some things earlier if you want to be learning web development. Like web development, for example, you have to learn HTML and CSS before JavaScript. So I'm not counting that HTML and CSS in 1 month. I'm not counting HTML and CSS in 1 month because those ones are not programming language. They are majorly markup language and styling. So markup and styling, that's what HTML and CSS is. But the main programming aspect is what is JavaScript. So 1 month is sufficient to learn JavaScript. Then after that, don't just say you have learned. You most likely will learn with the project. Maybe the learning you are carrying out for JavaScript, after watching some few videos, maybe like a 1-hour video, you learn with the video. Then the next thing is that find some projects that you can do, engage in 1, 2, or 3 independent projects to be able to affirm that you have understand at least all the basics in that programming language, because it's almost impossible for you to carry out a sensible project. I mean, sorry for using the word sensible, a very good project, and after the project you don't understand all the basics in the programming language. It's very, very difficult. So usually you understand all the basics in the programming language. Usually in 3 weeks, you should be able to complete at least one project. But majorly, I said this 3 weeks for completion of what? At least one project, at least one complete project. All right. Then thereafter, you go ahead to your mentor that, okay, in this field, the basic thing required to be known, I have known it. You knowing that basic thing, you can learn most of the things required in that field. And I must tell you, even if what is required next in that field is to learn a new programming language, you will learn that new programming language more easily. You learn it easily than the way you learned the basic one. Say, for example, initially you want to engage in what's it called? You want to engage in web design, for example, and you are told that you have to learn JavaScript. Then learn JavaScript. The next thing they tell you is that you have to learn a framework now. The framework is jQuery. jQuery is very much like JavaScript. You have to like program often. But you understand JavaScript will actually make it quite easier to learn jQuery than you not comprehending several basic things in JavaScript. If you know the basic things in JavaScript, learning some things in jQuery becomes quite easy for you. So that is that about the roadmaps. So after those first 3 steps, most of the other things you have to learn in any field you want to go into will be taken up by your mentor. Then he can assist you through. All right. So if there are a few questions, maybe 1 or 2 before we close the session, I will continue on WhatsApp. Or perhaps let's ask the question on WhatsApp. Then I would take it up from there. So thank you very much, and I would stop here. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Abdul. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I think the co-organizers have gone for prayer, and I have to go for prayer too soon.
Thank you so much.
If there are okay, someone is speaking.
جزاكم الله خيرا.
I can actually barely hear you.
Jazakumullahu khairan, sir. I believe everyone has gained a lot from this session, even though it's a bit short and we're not able to cover everything we intended to cover, but we still believe this is quite expansive enough to enable us acquire the basic things that we require to venture into the programming aspect of technology. So I believe some people might have a few questions or suggestions or comments to make. We can actually do that on the WhatsApp group. We would attend to that, inshallah. I would like to say Jazakumullah khairan to our presenter. May Allah continue to bless you for us, and may He reward you abundantly. And to all those who participated, we hope this becomes a useful knowledge for all of us. Thank you very much.
So we've officially come to the end of today's program, so we can kindly leave the call.